I was a girl in a book, this would all be so easy. Just give up the world happily.
Strange Blue Feelings, a series. Sal Fisher, ex-listener. Part 6. Ghost hunting. Quickly before we start this chapter, I just want everyone to know that this chapter will be told in Sal's point of view. Larry and YN talked amongst themselves as the trio walked towards the apartment building. Sally staying quiet and just listening in to their conversation as his eyes were pointed towards the ground, kicking a few pebbles. Although the awkward atmosphere from the car ride home had faded away, his stomach was still in knots over the embarrassing moment, unsure of how exactly to explain the situation. If I explained to YN that I don't like Ash anymore, would that make it weird? I mean, I'm sure she doesn't care, but I don't want her to think I'm hung up on Ash. Why am I so worked up over this? God, I know Larry didn't mean to put me in an awkward situation, but... YN pushed the elevator button for its rusty old doors to open, looking over at her masked friend, who she assumed was deep in thought due to his lack of conversation. Sally face, you right? Or did school do a number on you? Did you hear what Larry said? We're going to his place to hang out for a bit. Blow off some steam? Larry's strong arms placed itself around Sal, the other flicking his prosthetic. Come on, Sal. Don't tell me you're still mad at me for being a blabbermouth. I didn't mean to make you feel weird. I'm sorry, man. Looking up at his best friend, Sal was really annoyed at him, but not mad whatsoever. Larry would never intentionally embarrass or shame you. The guy's a sweetheart and one of the most genuine people Sal had ever met. With a sigh, Sally Face gave his friend's side a jab and walked into the elevator after YN. Yeah. You owe me some snacks from the vending machine, though. I'm thinking some M&Ms. How about you, YN? He asked, making her think for a second before declaring, Kit Kat and make it king-sized. The three of you laughed as the elevator descended, once opening hurriedly. You made your way over towards the vending machine, YN pushing the machine's faded buttons, Larry counting the change and inserting it while Sal collected the snacks that fell down into his arms, the snack hoard now brought. The group entered Larry's apartment and went into his room, YN dropping her backpack to the ground and letting her body fall into Larry's bed, clearly tired. Sal couldn't help but smile at the sight of sleepy YN. Her tired eyes and smile made her look so cute and delicate as she rested upon Larry's bed, stomach down. Dropping the snack pile on the ground, Sal began to open his bag of barbecue chips, Larry doing the same thing to his bag of salt and vinegar chips, gently tossing YN her Kit Kat, the chocolate bar landing by her thigh, making her slowly sit up and stretch with a soft yawn. Larry, is it okay if I take my shoes off? I swear my feet don't reek. Larry nodding as he began to take off his shoes as well. Go ahead, my feet are killing me too. Gotta get used to all that walking around school. Man, I miss summer vacation. Sal had already taken his shoes off, so he sat in the beanbag chair and just mindlessly watched his friends take off their shoes. Larry tossing his off to the side and YN neatly placing them by the bed. YN looked up at Sal when he let out a small laugh, raising an eyebrow. What? She asked, Sal pointing towards her feet, her toenails specifically, which were painted black just as the nails upon her hands. Your hands and feet match. That's funny. Causing YN to blush and lift her legs off the floor, hiding them under Larry's blanket. So what? I like to match. The three of you laughed and continued to just chill out, talking about whatever subject came up. The math teacher who wore the shirt that definitely didn't fit him, the weird mold growing out of the wall outside the locker room, the elaborate doodles YN had drawn with her two friends, just everything that had happened throughout the day. Quietly observing his friend, who was upon Larry's bed, her head sat against a pillow as she laid on her side. Sal noticed her eyes taking longer to open when she blinked, strands of her hair falling over her face. Before he knew it, she had blinked one last time, but this time, she didn't open her eyes. She had drifted off to sleep. Nudging Larry with his foot, Sal pointed towards YN, Larry quietly giggling to himself. Looks like we've got a sleeping beauty over here. Good thing my mom washed all the sheets yesterday. Sal's standing up to help YN by placing Larry's blanket over her shoulders, making sure she was covered enough to sleep comfortably and warmly. The two boys made their best attempt to talk and play video games together quietly, not wanting to disturb their peaceful sleeping friend. The sun had set. It was 6:30. YN had been asleep for quite a while now, but still, Sal hesitated to wake her up as he stood beside the bed, wondering how he'd awake the sleeping girl before him. She was lying on her back, one arm by her head and the other atop of her waist. Her belly button slightly exposed did her shift in her sleep, blanket covering her from the thighs down, her closed eyes allowing her thick dark eyelashes to be seen, soft-looking lips slightly parted, cheeks and nose tinted a light shade red, since the room was a bit cold. He couldn't help but gaze down at her. She was so ethereal looking. It felt like waking her from her slumber would be a sin. He had been told to wake YN by Larry as he went to use the restroom, after drinking an insane amount of soda, while they waited for the time they had set for ghost hunting to approach.
Okay, just gently shake her by the shoulder. That'll probably do it. Don't make this weird Sally face.
With that thought, he did just that, shaking YN by her shoulder and saying her name a few times, but she didn't even stir. She was still dead asleep. He shook her shoulder for a bit longer before he realized she wasn't waking up.
Okay, guess now I know YN's a deep sleeper. Maybe both her shoulders? I'll try saying her name a bit louder too. I just don't want to accidentally scare her.
Leaning down slightly, Sal now placed his hands upon both of her shoulders, giving her a solid but gentle shake.
YN, we're about to go ghost hunting, remember? Can't see ghosts if you're asleep. Come on, wake. And with that, YN, still asleep, reached her arms out towards him, wrapping them around his neck and pulling him towards her into a clumsy but warm embrace, her face right beside his prosthetic, causing Sal to feel as if he was going to have a heart attack. Eyes widening and mouth beginning to feel dry, Sal lifted his hands slightly in surprise away from YN, not wanting to accidentally touch her anywhere he shouldn't. Heart racing, sweat forming upon his forehead, Sallyface had no idea what to do besides stay there in shock. But why'd she do that? She's not letting go. Can I hug her back? Is that what she wants? I mean, why did she hug me in the first place?
YN finally began to speak, her arms never letting go of Sal.
Carry me back to bed, Dad. The couch isn't comfy.
By the groggy way she spoke, Sal finally realized she was still asleep. She was still dreaming, vividly enough to sleep talk, it seemed.
Oh, she's dreaming about being carried to bed by her dad. She must miss him. I know how that feels.
He thought to himself, and before he knew it, he was carefully wrapping his arms around YN as well, shutting his eyes, the two now embracing one another gently, and although he knew she was asleep and unaware of who she was actually hugging, it still felt good to receive another hug from YN, like the one on the first day they had met.
She smells like vanilla,
was the last thing Sal thought during the embrace before Larry was abruptly and loudly barging through the door.
Okay guys, we're gonna have to hurry up with those ghost hunting tonight because my mom's ordering pizza for dinner. And I'll be damned if a ghost stops me from... what are you guys doing? Am I interrupting something?
The sound of the door slamming open and Larry's incredibly loud pizza talk caused YN to jump and let out a surprised gasp, her eyes darting around the room before she remembered where she was. And, well, right now she was in the arms of Sal, him looking back at her with a worried look in his eyes.
before he quickly let go of her, standing up and adjusting his mask. "YN, you're awake. I wasn't doing anything weird. You just, He rubbed the back of his neck, making eye contact with YN, a bashful look in his eyes. "When I was trying to wake you, you hugged me out of nowhere. I think you might have, been dreaming or something. I swear I didn't just randomly grab you like a creep." Laughing, Larry walked over towards YN and ruffled her hair already messy. "What were you dreaming about, dude?" he asked, YN blinking slowly as she removed the blanket atop herself, placing her feet on the ground as she began to regain all her consciousness. Now fully awake and blushing like a fool. I don't remember, but I'm sorry, Sally Face. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable or anything," she spoke, looking down at her lap, twiddling her fingers. "But thank you for hugging me back instead of just shoving me off. I know it must have been a bit weird, huh?" YN asked, looking up at Sal with a faint, sleepy smile, cheeks still red, her eyelashes fluttering as her eyes adjusted to the light, laughing awkwardly to herself as she reached for her shoes to put them back on and prepare for ghost hunting. God damn it. She's torturing me every time she looks at me like that. She's too cute. Sal's mind was filled with thoughts about how precious YN was, how adorable her face while she slept was, how warm her hugs were. The faint scent of vanilla lingered within his mask. It must have rubbed off on his shirt. Don't worry about it, YN. He sat beside her, placing a hand up on her shoulder. "If it makes you feel any better, I have really vivid dreams too. Plus, you're a great hug giver. Better than Larry. He always squeezes me as hard as he can. Damn the guy." That made YN laugh as she finished lacing up her boots, standing up slowly, letting out a small yawn before stretching, smiling at her two friends while she ran her fingers through her hair in an attempt to fix her bedhead. "I'm sorry I fell asleep for so long, guys. I guess school really tired me out. But now I'm awake and ready to see some ghosts. Who are we meeting today again? Megan?" Sal and Larry both nodded as they walked towards the door with YN following closely behind them. "Don't be worried or anything, by the way, YN. Like we said before, Megan is harmless. She's a little girl after all. She's kinda unsettling to look at, but hey, what do you expect of ghosts?" Sal spoke, walking beside YN as Larry tossed something, catching him off guard as the trio were now inside the elevator. "Oh yeah, I got the Super Gear Boy back from Todd while YN was sleeping. He made some more adjustments to it or something. I wasn't really listening." Clutching the device to his chest, he gave Larry an annoyed look. "Jesus, dude, careful. It's the only thing we have to be able to communicate with these ghosts. Oh, yeah, by the way, YN." He lifted it up to let her get a good look at it. "This is what we've been using so far to be able to find the ghosts and be able to talk to them. It's my old Super Gear Boy that Todd completely modified. That guy never ceases to amaze me," he finished, noticing YN giving the contraption in his hands a bit of an odd look. "Something wrong? You don't believe it works?" he asked. YN shook her head, continuing to examine the Super Gear Boy as she began to answer Sal. "Oh, I definitely believe you when you say it works. It's just that I've never used an electrical paranormal device, you know?" she remarked. Sal nodded. "Oh, alright. Wait, what? You've never used an electrical paranormal device? Does that mean you've used non-electrical paranormal devices?" Larry now looking over towards YN as well, interested in what she had to say, placing a hand on her hip and the other on her neck. YN nodded and began to tell her story. "Yeah, guys, I actually own a Ouija board. It's sitting underneath my bed somewhere. I got it from a thrift store when I was about 14, just in time for the 6th period freshman Halloween party. We were told to bring snacks and games if we wanted, and, you know, the one I had was made by Hashibro, so I brought it. But no. As soon as I pulled it out of my bag, some super religious girl started to completely freak out. And get this, she fucking passed out. Like, are you kidding me? The next thing I know, I was suspended for a week. I've tried to use it to communicate with the dead plenty of times, but it never works, so I'm really excited to try the Super Gear Boy out today. The elevator doors opened onto the dark, desolate 5th floor as YN finished her story. However, the spooky atmosphere was drowned out by Larry's loud laughter, stumbling out of the elevator as he bent over from how hard he was laughing. No fucking way. You got suspended over that shit? Why haven't you told this story to us sooner? That's fucking gold. Little old YN scaring someone half to death and getting sent home? Man, I'd pay good money to see that. Sally Face placed a hand over the forehead of his prosthetic. He was also beginning to laugh pretty hard under his mask as well, not believing the crazy story YN had just told. And before he knew it, the three of you within floor 5 were laughing in unison at the absurdity of it all. Finally catching his breath, he turned to YN and stated, "You've got to tell us these sorts of things more often." YN red in the face from both the embarrassment of retelling her story and from how hard she was laughing. "I was gonna mention it someday. It just happened to come up today. I'm glad you guys took such a liking to that story. Wait till you hear about the time I accidentally set a trash can on fire." Larry and Sal both looked at one another. Sal's eyes widened, and Larry's eyebrows raised as he smiled eagerly. YN could tell they wanted to hear that story badly. "I won't tell that one today," she remarked. "But just know nobody got hurt. Anyways, we came up here for ghosts. Not for me just to tell you goofballs my life story. So, where is she?" Knowing she was referring to Megan, Sal cleared his throat and pointed towards one of the several doors in the dark hallway. "She's in there. She's in there. 504. She's in the bathroom of the apartment. And it doesn't exactly smell the best in there. Maybe cover your nose when we get in there before you get used to the smell," he advised, taking the lead and making his way towards the door, Larry and YN following. Once the door opened, the inside of the apartment was revealed, exactly the same as the others, but in terrible, unrepairable condition. After Sal entered, Larry followed, YN holding onto Larry's arm as she walked in without even realizing it. The vibe of the room just felt dark. It was clear something bad had taken place here. Leading the way to the bathroom, the door was already slightly ajar when Sal pushed it all the way open with his foot, both hands busy as he held onto the paranormal detecting device, the foul odor instantly making itself known. "Ugh, you weren't kidding," Mine remarked as she lifted her hand to pinch her nose, Larry doing the same thing. Sal, however, hardly took notice of the smell. His mask did help shield him from its intensity. Plus, he was too focused on getting his ghostly little friend to appear. He clicked a few of the Super Gear Boy buttons in order to detect the spirit, and suddenly the air shifted, the hairs upon the back of everyone's neck standing up. It felt like all the air had been sucked out of the room. Then, there it was. Something began to form out of the ground. A puddle of what looked like disgusting red mush began to bubble and grow in size. It was bone and human tissue, slowly beginning to form into a body. Once the grotesque process was complete, there stood a faint figure of a tattered little girl with lilac hair and a white dress going past her knees, just as anticipated. "Hello, Sally Face. Oh, you brought your friends. Who's the girl? I've never seen her around before. She's pretty," the girl asked, her voice sounding like an echo of the past. Before he could answer Megan's question, Wyan let go of Larry's arm, taking slow, steady steps towards Megan before she kneeled before her, now at eye level with the ghostly little girl. "Wow, you're..." She paused for a moment, thinking to herself before continuing.
the prettiest little girl I've ever seen. You're Megan, right? I'm 𝖲. It's so nice to finally meet you. Sally Face here tells me you're the coolest kid ever. Isn't that right, Sal? Both Megan and 𝖲 glance up at the boy, who was watching their interaction, surprised at how easily 𝖲 was able to approach Megan without even flinching. Yeah, of course. Megan, 𝖲 has been waiting for a while to meet you. She's really nice. Me and Larry are good friends with her, and I agree with what you said earlier. She is really pretty. This comment made 𝖲 smile up at Sal for a moment before returning her attention to Megan, beginning to engage her in more innocent conversation. From her favorite color to her favorite activities she liked to do when she was alive, all while never backing away or showing any signs of fear. Larry and Sal watched the two girls converse with one another. It was quite cute seeing 𝖲 acting so sisterly and sweet towards Megan, despite her frightful appearance. But it hadn't been even 5 minutes when the little spirit announced, "Oh, I've got to go now. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, 𝖲, Sally Face, and Larry." And just as quickly as she had formed, she disintegrated into the floor in the same grotesque fashion as earlier, leaving the trio in silence for a moment before Larry asked, "𝖲, you okay? How do you feel?" 𝖲 stared intensely at the spot where Megan had just stand. 𝖲 stared intensely at the spot where Megan had just been standing before slowly getting up and turning towards them both, her hands upon her chest in awe of the whole experience. I feel like I don't even know. I just spoke to a ghost. Holy shit. Sal chuckled at the same time as Larry. Phew, she didn't pass out, and she didn't start having a panic attack. That went a lot better than expected. 𝖲 really is one of a kind. Not just anyone can walk up to ghosts and ask them what their favorite color is. God, she's amazing. And with that thought, Sal quickly opened the door to the bathroom, joking that if the three of you stayed in here any longer, the smell might melt his mask off. That was that, 𝖲's first encounter with a ghost, and certainly not her last.